4905 concerning natural gas-fired fan-type central furnaces. So we have staff members participating in person and via Zoom video teleconference. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation on Zoom video and audio teleconference. And before we begin, I want to review some important guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices such as your cell or desk phone. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback that can interrupt the meeting. Only district staff will be visible on Zoom. Members of the public are asked to unmute themselves when they are recognized to make a public comment. After the presentation, staff will announce the public comment period has opened, and staff will recognize any public attendee who has indicated they wish to speak. On the Zoom video application, please press raise hand button so that you may be recognized to speak, and be sure to unmute yourself. If you are participating by Zoom teleconference, press *9 to raise your hand so that you may be recognized to speak, and staff will call the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak, and be sure to press *6 to unmute and mute yourself. And we did want to note as well that when we get to the comment period after the presentation here, if you want to send in a comment or a question to the email address of webcast@valleyair.org, you can send a message there as well. We'll be able to view that inbox here live, and we can read that for everybody to hear whatever your question or comment might be. So that's a reminder for you. So with that, let's go ahead and call up the presentation, and we will get things started this afternoon. Just wanted to introduce myself real quick. I'm John Klassen. I'm the Director of Air Quality Science and Planning here at the Air District. I'm being joined by Jessica Correa, Program Manager, and Molly Boyette, Air Quality Specialist. They're going to walk us through the presentation today, give a little bit of background of the air quality in the San Joaquin Valley, then talk about what's being proposed here for the amendments to this rule here this afternoon. And then we'll get to the end, have a few minutes to hear some comments or questions that any of you may have to wrap up the workshop this afternoon. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jessica to get us started.
Thanks, John. So we're going to be kicking off the public workshop for potential amendments to District Rule 4905, which is the regulation for natural gas-fired fan-type central furnaces. And here's that webcast@valleyair.org email address that John mentioned. So I'm going to start with a little bit of background on the San Joaquin Valley air quality challenges. The Valley challenges are unmatched due to the unique geography, meteorology, and topography of the region. You can see in this table the National Ambient Air Quality Standard designation for both the 8-hour ozone standard and the fine particulate matter standards, where we're designated as extreme non-attainment for 8-hour ozone and a serious non-attainment for the federal standards for PM 2.5. Now, combustion is a significant source of NOx emissions, or nitrogen oxide emissions, and NOx is a primary precursor to both ozone and PM 2.5 formation. The majority of NOx emissions are from mobile sources, and NOx reductions are a key part of the district's ozone and PM 2.5 attainment strategies. We'll be talking in more detail today about District 4905 for natural gas-fired fan-type central furnaces, and this rule was established to reduce NOx emissions from furnaces across the valley. So I'm going to kick it over to Molly now, who's going to give some more detail about the regulation and proposed amendments to the rule. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. So natural gas-fired fan-type central furnaces are used to provide heat to residential and commercial properties. Natural gas fuel is burned to create heat for distribution through the home or commercial building, and these furnaces create NOx emissions, which can contribute to ozone and PM formation. So as Jessica stated, District Rule 4905 requires NOx emissions limits on furnace units. So adopted in 2005 and amended several times, Rule 4905 is a point of sale rule that limits NOx emissions from natural gas-fired fan-type central furnaces. Due to air quality challenges in 2014 and 15, the district and South Coast Air Quality Management District amended respective rules to require more stringent emissions limits of 14 nanograms per joule of NOx. Some manufacturers raised concerns regarding whether technology would be ready by compliance deadlines, and due to concerns raised, amendments allowed the sale of non-compliant units during the initial implementation period of 36 months in exchange for the payment of an emissions fee for each non-compliant unit sold. The fee amount was set to disincentivize the sale of non-compliant units, and it was necessary to ensure adequate supply for expected demand for new units in the Valley. It also helped minimize unfair competitive disadvantage for manufacturers that provided compliant units in the Valley. So what you see here are the current end dates for the emissions fee option for each furnace category. And as you can see, the emissions fee period has ended for all size and unit types. Manufacturers have been successful in developing furnace technologies that meet the 14 nanograms per joule NOx limit for all unit types except for manufactured home furnaces. And these manufactured home units represented approximately 6% of non-compliant unit sales in the Valley in 2020. As just said, manufacturers have been successful in developing the low NOx technologies for non-weatherized condensing and non-condensing units, including dual fuel units and weatherized units. However, the design of manufactured home furnaces is significantly different from ultra-low NOx furnaces available for these other structures. New manufactured home gas furnaces are also subject to standards set by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and U.S. Department of Energy. And in addition, COVID-19 impacts have delayed the ability of manufacturers to develop compliant manufactured home units by the Rule 4905 deadline of September 30th, 2021. These challenges include supply chain disruptions as well as a shortage of labor. For these reasons, manufacturers have requested additional time to develop compliant manufactured home units. They are requesting a 2-year extension consistent with the recent South Coast amendment to their Rule 1111. The district is working closely with South Coast to address concerns raised by furnace manufacturers to develop manufactured home furnaces that comply with the 14 nanogram per joule NOx limit. And so the proposed Rule 4905 amendment would extend the emissions fee period for all size range manufactured home furnaces to September 30th, 2023. This extension would provide the time necessary for compliant units to be developed and made commercially available, and would provide for continued availability of manufactured home furnaces to the affordable housing market to address heating needs while new low NOx technologies are developed. And there is no proposed change to the emissions fee amount. With that, I'll pass it back to Jessica for next step.
Great, thanks, Molly. So the next step for the public engagement process for this Rule 4905 amendment is we published the proposed rule on November 16th, and we're now in the workshopping phase. And so we'll be accepting public comments on this proposed rule through December 2nd. That's really the opportunity to get any proposed revisions on the rule into what will ultimately be going to our governing board on December 16th. But I wanted to note that public participation and comment is invited throughout the entire process, up to and including at the public hearing for the proposed rulemaking. So if you do have any questions or comments, you can reach out to Molly directly. This slide details her contact information. And then I also encourage anyone interested in receiving updates of proposed documents and meeting notifications to sign up for the listserv for this kind of regulatory process. And that listserv is listed on this slide. So with that, we'll turn it over to open discussion. We'll be taking comments live here through Zoom, or if you'd rather write in a comment to the webcast email address, we'll be monitoring that email address live as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Naomi, who's going to help us with the public comment process.
For public comments, we have Cynthia Pinto Cabrera.
Hi, hello, Jessica. Thanks for the presentation. Cynthia Pinto Cabrera with Central Valley Air Quality Coalition. I had a clarifying question. I know I got the notice on my email and it said that the comments were due the 30th, but I think you said the 2nd. So just wanted to clarify on that. But I also had a few kind of more technical questions about electrification, what electrification options y'all are exploring, and heat pumps, and are y'all going to require some heat pumps, how compliant units are going to be prioritized, and if any incentive funding is going to be allocated. So happy to repeat any of the questions if you didn't get them, but just wanted to answer some of those questions.
Thanks, Cynthia. Let's go with the later comment period, so the December 2nd deadline for that. And of course, feel free to submit comments at any time. As far as, requiring electrification, that's not something we're looking at as part of a regulatory measure at this time. We are definitely looking at ways to support electrification through incentives. And our Burn Cleaner program does currently provide some incentives for the installation of heat pumps through the, as we're replacing fireplaces. So that is an incentive program that's currently available. Thanks for your comments and for tuning in today.
Are there any other public comments? I don't see any other public comments.
All right, thank you, Naomi. Just checking the webcast at valyair.org inbox here. I don't see any comments through here at this time. So any other public comment?
Yes, John.
Okay.
John, there's one more from David Stevens.
Yes, this is Dr. David Stevens. I'm with Johnson Controls, a manufacturer of the equipment that's in question here. Well, thank you for this, for the consideration of this rule change. We wholeheartedly support it. Johnson Controls is internationally recognized for environmental positions, and we encourage you to continue to reduce NOx. But at the same time, the reality is, in fairness to people, as you mentioned, that the pandemic has caused a series of disruptions, both supply chain and personnel, as well as the Department of Energy, who has levied requirements on us for the January 1st of 2023 energy efficiency across the nation. So this has created a series of issues that we feel this rule change does support. And we appreciate your time and your consideration for it. Thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thanks for those comments, Dr. Stevens.
Next, we have Michael Kalmbach.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Kalmbach. I'm an owner of a wholesale distributor of heating and air conditioning equipment in the Central Valley. Just want to point out that inventory of appliances manufactured to the 9/30/2021 deadline are 0. We are out of manufactured housing furnaces and do not have any replacements to sell and to support contractors installing those in manufactured housing. We desperately need the extension to continue serving the affordable housing market during this winter season. So I urge you to please pass the rule amend the rule as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Were there any other public comments? I don't see any others comments.
All right. Well, with that, we will go ahead and close the workshop. I wanted to thank everyone for tuning in today and for the comments. We'll look forward to the next steps in this public process, so receiving comments by December 2nd and then board consideration on December 16th. Thanks, everyone.